Yes.
So welcome everybody. This is the last of our series of SAB panel events this week. So if you've been here all week, then welcome. If you're watching back on YouTube, welcome. If it's your first one, then also welcome. So just like the rest of the week, we're going to be running it that I'm the host. So I'll be asking Ibrahim, our special guest, all of the questions that you want to know to get all of the inside gossip track as to what the role of president really is like. So please do put yours in the chat. You can start putting them in now if you'd like, and I'll ask them one at a time. Please do keep yourself on mute, and do note that this is going to be recorded, so like be careful with what you're saying if you do end up unmuting yourself for whatever reason. So this is your chance to ask Ibrahim anything you'd like about the roles in general, campaigning, who his favourite staff member was, people to chat to, anything like that. So our special guest tonight is Ibrahim. He was the president of the Students' Union in the year 2019 to 2020. And so, Ibrahim, do you want to quickly introduce yourself?
Absolutely, yes. So my name is Ibrahim, as Hannah just highlighted and said. I was the president of the union last year, the year 2019-2020. It was the start of the pandemic, meaning the end of my term was extremely chaotic, and I was in one place, which is my home, but everywhere at the same time, which was unique. But yeah, and now I work in the University of Westminster as I'm not sure what my role is right now, but I do a bit of everything, to be fair.
Sounds from being a SAB, really.
You know what? I never thought of it that way, but it's very much like that. I do a bit of everything. Whatever project is going around, they hand to me and I start, working on it. But yeah.
Love that. Okay, so first question from me to pick us off. So what was your favourite thing about being a SAB?
What was my favorite thing about being a SAB? Well, I think it's difficult to find a job where at the end of the day, you are happy with what you do and you feel like you've made a positive impact on someone's life. It's very rare that you do have a job like that, and when you do, normally, naturally, you'll have to start from the bottom. The unique thing about being a SAB is that it's a fast track to be able to do as much good as you can with little experience, but the experience required is being a student. So you're actually the most experienced out of the people you work with. For example, the staff members, the university staff, all of that. So although you don't have working experience, having that student experience is very beneficial, which is what I enjoyed about it.
Yeah. Because would you say that you were like massively involved in the Students' Union before you ran to be a SAB?
If I'm completely honest, I didn't even know what the union did. I didn't know what they were, to do completely. I knew there was positions opened. I knew you could it was a nice sort of way to help people. I met Jamila a few times. Every time I had a problem with a lecturer, I'll bring their name to her and snitch on them. And that was my involvement with the student union. But at that point, when elections first came about, I thought, you know what? It looks nice. It looks good. Yeah,
and I love that because I think people like you go to show you don't need to be the person who's like running all the societies and running all the sports to be able to run an election and win, which I think is really good to know.
Absolutely.
So thinking back to this time last year, what did a day in the life look like as Mr. President?
A day in the life. For me, it was quite unique in a way where I tried to take advantage of all the opportunities that I can do in regards to my personal development and in regards to what I do during the job. So, someone's on loud, I think.
Yeah, don't worry, they're muting themselves now.
That's okay. But yeah, what was I saying again? I was saying, so the fact that I sort of accepted anything and everything that I could made it so that I had back-to-back meetings. about the extremely different things. So I'll come out of one meeting talking about how to introduce language into curriculums that aren't necessarily language related, into something about international students, into going and checking our Chiswick site, into doing this, into doing that. So a day in the life was very chaotic, all over the place, but it had a nice sense of sort of focus on it. Yeah.
And is that what made you pick the president role? The fact that there was so much varied.
Um, Perhaps, yeah. I had an interest in welfare, and I had an interest in sort of the educational side, and I thought that role would allow me to dip in and out of these roles. And I thought of I'm someone that is good with people. I enjoy dealing with people. I enjoy creating relationships and stuff like that. So that role specifically was about creating a strong relationship with the university and other stakeholders. So I sort of played it to my skills, basically. Yeah.
Yeah. So who would you say like were your key contacts in a day as president? Like who's top of your email chain list?
Yeah, it'd be the other officers, so the four vice presidents, and it will be the internally it will be the CEO Michael Wigg, he's still there, and the heads of departments within the union. Externally, it would really depend. So, for example, in a time where we have a sort of an issue that related to, for example, during COVID when it first started, the biggest thing from a university point of view was how we're going to ensure that there's no impact on students' attainment due to the pandemic. So within that time, it was the Deputy Vice Chancellor for Education. I spoke to her extremely frequently. On other times, it will be the COO of the university. On other times, it'll be a head of a department when it's a very specific issue. So yeah, it just depends on what's the current issue on hand.
Yeah, love it. Like quite senior people in the university on
very much so, very much so. Yeah, and if you establish a good relationship with them, I feel like that supports you even after you finish the role in getting a job in something you enjoy doing and that is meaningful to you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So did you feel like scared when you first went in to meet all of these kind of like big influential people?
You know what it is around the sector. It's often the case that sabbatical officers feel that sense of what is it called, imposter syndrome, right? Because you're a young person. You're probably going to be the youngest in every single room you go into. You're most likely to be the youngest person. If you're a person of color, you're probably going to be the only person of color in that room. So there was that sense, but at the same time, I was confident in myself. I knew that I knew what I was talking about. I knew that I prepared for every sort of situation I was in and every meeting I was in. So although there was that sense of, yeah, I'm the youngest person in the room, and if I mess up, I'm the young Dane person here, and that's why I'm messing up. But being confident in yourself allows you to sort of overcome these challenges.
Love that.
Yeah.
Anyone got any questions for Ibrahim, or do you want me to keep planning through mine? Please put them in the chat. Like how much I love to just ask them questions I'm curious about. Please do be adding yours to the chat. In the meantime, I guess my next question is, do you have any top tips for our candidates in terms of campaigning, especially because it's going to be all digital, so we can't do any face-to-face campaigning? Any ideas for digital campaign?
So I had the privilege to run 2 campaigns, won one and lost one. So I feel like the experience I have is amazing in regards to what to do and what not to do. The best thing about this year is that everyone's in the same boat. Whether someone has ran sort of a campaign or has done this or not, is very irrelevant, because everyone's in the same boat. Whether you have experience or you don't have experience, you're all the same. But one thing that you should not rely on is try and send things into group chats and assuming that everyone's gonna support you. I think a direct approach people how you'd want to be approached, and best believe if someone sends it in a group chat, I'll ignore it. But if they send it to me directly, I'll probably follow up on it. So think of these things. Think about how you'd want to be approached.
Yeah, love that about thinking about who you approach. Because yeah, so many group chats go off and you're like, ignore that for a while.
Exactly. Yeah.
Harder to ignore
Mm.
the personalized thing.
Mhm.
So did you, what is one thing that you wish you knew before you ran? So think about this time 2 years ago.
Yeah. Yeah. One thing that I wish I knew before. Bu- 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 I wish I spoke to my predecessor
Mhm.
more and my predecessors, because you have such a short amount of time to get into the role and actually start making an impact change. You don't have, although you do, you can take your time. You can take half a year to adapt and sort of be ready to go. I felt like if I was more in touch with my predecessors and sort of asked them for advice and opinion, I feel like that would have been better for me, just to understand the level of support that there is. You have 30 members, I believe it's 30, is it still 30, Hannah? About 30, right? Members of staff in the SU?
Yeah,
Yeah,
sorry.
so yeah, so you have about 30 members of staff. You don't have time to do everything. And because of all the variety of things that you're in, you don't have time to do any particular thing for one of them. So you do rely and do utilize those 30 members of staff that you have.
Yeah, we're all here to help. Literally our full-time jobs to help make student ideas happen and make student ideas succeed. So yeah, love that. Okay, we've had a question in. So are the facility allowed to take part in the voting? So I assume that means is that like lecturers? If the person who sent me that message would be able to clarify that. Yeah, are lecturers allowed to take part in the voting?
Are you asking me?
Yeah.
I'd ask you because you'll probably know more than me, right?
So it's only, I didn't know. It's only students, so registered students at the University of Westminster who are eligible to vote in the elections. So lecturers will be able to help you by allowing you into lectures to do like lecture shout outs. And they might allow you to post on like departmental like Blackboard pages and stuff like that. To check out the election handbook, you can see the do's and don'ts of using lectures in that way. So there's a couple of like caveats you need to use if you are going to do that. But yeah, they can help you and other candidates by providing you a space to talk to people, but they can't vote for you, if that was the question. Okay, so had another question in saying, what were the biggest challenges you faced when campaigning?
Or when campaigning specifically?
Yeah.
What are the biggest challenges? I think you're gonna sometimes you might get frustrated with people around you that don't maybe not necessarily frustrated, but more of you might get a bit stressed. You might get a bit, because it's quite a stressful time. I think know that it's okay to just take a minute and just stop and take a break and rest, even if it's for a day. Do you know what I mean? As long as that means you're gonna do better on the rest of the days, or if you take an hour off, you're gonna be better the rest of the hours. But sometimes people are under the impression, and I'm absolutely one of them, thinking that, you know what, I'll hammer it out, I'll go all the way, I'll go in as long as I can, and then when it's time to rest, I'll rest, or I'll rest when I'm dead, and these kind of thoughts. Do you know what I mean?
Then you burn out midweek.
Exactly. There we go. So make sure you rest adequately.
Yeah, love that. Yeah, so voting is going to be open 24/7. But like you need to make sure you're taking rest. The only reason the voting is open 24/7 is because we have some we have the chance of some candidates to be in different countries. So we want to give everyone the chance to be able to campaign in the time zone that they are awaken. But don't feel like you have to be campaigning 24/7 for sure. So how did you cope with stress and anxiety around the election? Just taking those regular breaks or anything else?
I think how did you cope with stress and anxiety around the election? Well, you can't avoid it, right? And just accepting that to begin with, that you can't avoid it and there isn't a recipe to go around it is the first step. After that, it's look at yourself and think, you know what, would it be better for me if I just leave this for a minute, if I just completely leave this for a minute and forget about it for a minute and then come back to it later. So the rests again, um, and also try and have a sort of a support bubble, let's say, of either other candidates that are campaigning, and maybe you can all take a break at the same time. Some of you might be lying and campaigning on the side, but do you know what I mean? Like get friendly with people that are in the same situation as you. Both times I did, I tried to be very, very friendly with everyone else that was running with me. So we had that sort of relaxed, comfortable with each other sort of way where we'd actually sit and have a chat and have a coffee, and I'll buy them a coffee and they'll buy me a coffee. Don't look at it as I'm competing against these people and I hate their guts. No, look at it as you're all in the same boat, so support each other.
Yeah, no one else knows
Yeah,
what you're going through other than those
exactly.
people. So yeah, I love that. And I think that like people will see if you're all sitting like being negatively about each other, like, and just show the type of person you are. And if you believe you're the right person for the job, then voters will see that for sure. Love that. Okay, so what were any challenges you faced whilst you were actually in the role? Like, was it easy, or like was there any hard days, and how did you go over them?
The role itself, naturally being in charge of representing 20,000 students, as well as being responsible for the trustee board, because you'd be chairing the trustee board, being a part of the executive board of the union. Naturally, it has a lot of responsibilities on your shoulders. You have a huge amount of responsibility, and sometimes you'll think to yourself, you know what, am I gonna do this thing that's very stressful and sort of hammer it out, or should I just ignore something, or should I do this, should I do that? One of the most difficult periods, and if there is any of the SABs that I was with here, they'll remember, I had a big problem with um, the CEO at some point, a huge problem, right? About a specific thing where I thought the way he went about it was wrong. He thought the way he went about it was right, and sort of I have so much love and respect for Michael. Michael's my guy, but sort of those situations where you have to actually sit here and say, okay, this is going against my values and against what I feel is right. Do I say something and voice it out loud and stay firm on it, or should I sort of let things slide? Sometimes it's better to let things slide. You're not always right, and accepting that is important. But when something is going against your values, don't yeah I think that was the most difficult time. When should I let things slide and agree with them, and when should I really stand firm?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Would you say that you kind of like, what sort of like support did you get in knowing how to kind of like navigate those situations?
um I think the fact that I had and I say me and the other four vice presidents, we were sort of on the same page about a lot of these things. So whenever whenever we had, and the way we worked was based on consensus. So if we didn't all agree with something, then we'll stop and we won't do it, because each of us was selected in the exact same way. Even though you're president, you're not their manager. You haven't been selected in a different way. So you've been selected in the exact same way. So the way we done it was that if all of us agreed on something, um, then that's when I'll be like, you know what, I'm not budging on this whatsoever, even if it risks sort of ruining relationships that might have helped me in the future, things like that.
Yeah, love that. So just really leaning on your team and being part of that team. Yeah,
Trying to, yeah.
love that. So now you mentioned earlier that you work with the university doing various different bits. How do you think that being a SAB has helped you get there?
It helps a lot. Because the way I look at it, you really find out a lot about yourself during that time, because you're really getting tested. And although you might not have a lot of the skills and sort of the resilience that gets built up through a long successful career, you end up in that in a position where people will work maybe 20 years to get to the head of an organization that's £2 million in revenue, £2.5 million in revenue. You see what I mean? So doing that for a year, it really builds you up quicker than anything else, because you don't have time to sort of say, you know what, I'm not sure about this. I need this development. I need that. No, you need to hit the ground running because all you have is 1 year, 1 or 2 years. So I think that's where it is. I think a lot of skills got developed extremely quickly where they wouldn't have otherwise.
Yeah. And did you always see yourself like continuing working in like universities after you were a SAB, or like did being a SAB change where you felt like you wanted to work?
To be fair, I'm not sure. I'm not sure yet. I'm not sure. I don't completely. I'll tell you what. Doing that role opened my eyes to the possibility of higher education being a sector to go into. Prior to that, it's like school. You finish school and you bounce and you go to the next thing. But doing that showed me how big this sector is and how so fulfilling working in it is. So it showed me that element. But to be fair, no, I'm not sure if I'm gonna stay in the sector or perhaps find something else. Yeah.
But do you feel like the skills you learn are quite transferable to other things, or are you like,
Very much
that's
so.
part of my life done, moving on to the next one?
No, very much so, very much so. It teaches you skills that perhaps you wouldn't find elsewhere, such as sort of the diplomacy and the political awareness, where you actually wouldn't get it from another job. Now, obviously, if you don't get this job and get another one, you'll learn different set of skills. But certainly the skills you learn here is quite it's quite unique in their own sense.
Yeah, love that.
Yeah.
So what are some of the wins? So what are some of the things that you managed to achieve in your year of office?
Okay, so in my year of office, so one of the biggest wins, which I was very proud of, because it's something I truly believe in, is paying all the students that were employed by the union as well as the university the London living wage rather than the minimum wage. Obviously, the way I looked at it was that this money was theirs. They went into debt to pay their fees. Surely, when they work for the university or the union, they should be paid enough to live. So that was the biggest one, just because there seemed to be some sort of resistance to it. Not because of any bad reasons, just because financially the union wasn't in the strongest, it was in a strong position but not a strong position to make a move like that. But that's why I'm quite proud of that win.
So another question come in. What's the best time management techniques that you learned in the job?
Yeah, time management. Yeah, there's you know what it is for me, because I tried doing everything. There was no time management. There was sprinting, trying to chase up with everything else. I think the fact that you're if you're using your calendar well, you're allowing yourself 15 minutes before and 15 after to get to where you need to get to sort of run over your notes, find sort of the notes you made for the meeting before and getting ready for the meeting after. These things can be very helpful. But I'll be selling you short if I told you, oh, do this, because each person is very different. And me telling you what I did is probably not going to help you whatsoever. But I do believe that whoever you are, the next person is going to get it. You're going to find your own way. I might tell you do X, Y, and Z, but it's not going to matter because you're going to do it your own way, which you'll do it in a great way.
Yeah, I love that idea of having a bit of time before and after the and going like back to back, especially when we're doing things online. I've started to do that a little bit more and being like, right, I'm gonna need like a little bit of time to think about that and also to rest these little eyes, because long days on the screen. So yeah, talking about that. So obviously you started, you were still working for the Students' Union when the global pandemic started, and then you moved over kind of over summer to working for the university. Do you have any advice on terms of how working from home is? Because there's a good chance that our newly elected officers will still need to work from home for a couple of months before they come into campus. Do you have any advice or guidance on that?
Yeah, so with that, I'd say don't limit yourself on where you work from. There's the physical environment you work in. You can work from your desk at home or your table at home. If you don't have one, talk to the union. Perhaps they'll sort you out maybe.
If not, would you buy DSE equipment?
I wasn't sure if that was still the case, but yeah, exactly. So you get that. If not, go to a coffee shop, try and meet up with the other officers when it's legal to do so. but don't limit yourself, and don't box yourself in. And one other thing that I did, and I still do now, is that I have random catch-ups. Similarly to how if I was in the office, I'll pop at someone's desk and be like, yeah, what are you saying? How's your weekend? Da, 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 da. I'll call people out of nowhere and be like, hi, how are you? You're right. How's everything? And just catch up with them. I think you met Jamila not too long ago. Was it yesterday?
Yeah.
Yesterday they met Jamila. Yeah, yeah. So Jamila did a similar thing I did yesterday, and I actually just got off the phone with her. So doing these kind of things is really helpful.
Yeah, just keeping that kind of like friendship connection going as far as possible while
Exactly.
still being virtual. Yeah,
Exactly. Absolutely.
the
Yeah, yeah.
various fun activities to try and make it a fun workplace to workplace to be in. And yeah,
Exactly.
we do offer that we need to be able to help support a working from home environment as well. So before coronavirus hit, how did you find kind of like it good to get like, actually no, ignore the before coronavirus, all the time, how did you manage to maintain a good work-life balance? Did you?
Yeah, so with that, I think put boundaries on yourself. The one thing I truly believe in is that you have rights on everybody, and others have rights on you. So as long as so the students have rights on you, that you should represent them and this and that. Your parents have rights on you. You should go home and sort of respect them and make sure they see you at home as much as they, do you know what I mean? They want to. So your siblings and your friends, and I feel like that work to life balance, you just have to split it between you and the people that have rights on you, as friends or as siblings or as family members. So yeah, as long as you're not making this job your life and that's everything you do, you breathe, you eat this job, as long as sort of you have you're fulfilling those other rights that you have on other people. That's how I see it. You have to just make sure that you're doing that as well.
Remember, there is a life outside the SU. We are very important, but like nothing will burn down if you end up taking like time off, for sure.
Absolutely,
Um,
absolutely.
so could you give a like brief overview of all the responsibilities the president holds? Like, what's a brief overview of the role description, really?
Yeah. So what, as in the responsibilities that you hold? Okay. So it's a bit of a long list, if I'm honest with you. So you're as I said, you're the chair of the trustee board, meaning that you have a responsibility to lead the board strategically, and not operationally. So you don't worry about what time the bar is open until and what the prices are. You worry about, okay, at the end of the year, what are we expecting financially? How much engagement are we expecting? So very much strategic. You go a level down, that would be the um, sort of executive board level, where it will be a little bit more operational. And then after that, it'll be whatever campaigns you're working on with the relevant members of staff. From the university side, you are a governor of the university, which is a big deal. It's a nice big deal, a huge responsibility. Your academic council member is the highest internal council in the university. After that, you're co-chair of student experience committee. So you do have quite a bit of, and now you would sit on the being safe, feeling safe group, which is the one responsible to deal with all the coronavirus related issues. So that's sort of a brief overview of the responsibilities that you'd have.
Yeah, so you've got a really good mixture of being sitting on really high level, both university and union meetings, and then doing the kind of like campaigning, so working on that manifesto that you've
Precisely.
put forward.
Precisely. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So I'd like you to imagine that you're sitting here in this call, and you've done this call 2 years ago. Do you have any advice at all that you want to pass on to these prospective candidates, to just give them general advice?
I think be yourself. Be yourself. I'm talking to hopefully the successful candidate. Be yourself. Um, don't try and fit into boxes that others will want you to fit into. Naturally, people will want you to fit in a box that suits them and their needs. Some people wanted me, for example, to be more focused on this or that or this or that. But stay true to yourself, your values, what you believe in, what you don't believe in, um, and do it that way. For the ones that are unsuccessful, it's not a big deal. I lost not too long ago and now I'm I'm very proud of where I am in life. I'm getting paid a little bit more than I did sometimes, but you see what I mean. It's not the end of the world if you don't get it. You still have your whole life ahead of you, and it's just
The best people lose elections, because I also ran an election that I went for. So I always
there we
said,
go.
like,
There we go. And look where we are now. We're presenting, and everyone else is watching. I'm joking.
we made it.
We made it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
love that. Never regret. Always move forward. And
exactly.
you're doing very well for yourself, pal.
Oh, thank
Very
you, thank you, thank you.
good. Do we have any more questions from anybody? Please feel free to send them my way. There's a lot of information. It's quite a varied role. Are you able to give a little bit more information about what you mean by like the difference between being like more strategic from that board level or being more operational? Like what does that mean in practice?
Yeah, so one thing, and I think that's the element that a lot of people struggle with the most when entering these type of roles. For example, let's say prior to doing this, I worked in a restaurant. So I was a waiter for a short amount of time. I hated it. Oh, hated it. But in that's a very operational role, meaning you are out there doing the work yourself. You are ensuring that a dish goes from A to B, so on and so forth. When you go to your manager's level, they're still operational because they're still doing the rotors, they're still doing this and that. But after, if you go up in regards to the board of whatever that restaurant was, right? So let's say it wasn't McDonald's, but let's say it was McDonald's. Their board will work more strategically and say, okay, by the year 2030, we expect to open X many restaurants. Each restaurant will be making this much income and this much profit and this, that, and this, that. So sort of knowing when to close your operational mind and open your strategic mind and keep the conversation strategic. And the challenges with this role specifically is that you're not going to be one of the in regards to the union, you're not going to be one of the people engaged in the conversation. You're supposed to be leading the conversation, meaning that you're supposed to stop people from talking operationally, which is difficult because you only just started learning about these things. But you will be sort of expected, and one of your roles will be to be like, you know what, that you're talking a little bit more operational. Can we keep it on a strategic level? And half of the board is made up of students who, similarly to you, don't have that much experience in that. So it's I hope I've explained it well, but that's the difference between being strategic and being operational.
I love that analogy. That's well. So I got a question in. So how can we reach out to more people, especially because of the pandemic, not being able to meet new people? Do you have any advice on that?
In regards to campaigning, I think social media is a blessing that you can use now. Sort of create an account, try and follow as many, and one specific trick that people do is go on society pages and see who they follow, and then sort of follow their followers or follow. Do you know what I mean? So target them that way. But yeah, the fact that it's digital, you just have to all day long just be on your phone, which is a bit of a problem. But I guess it's easier than running around. Do you know what I mean? But yeah, that's what I'd say.
Yeah, and you can get friends to help you out with that. So you can get a little campaign team, like Ibrahim mentioned, he had a campaign team, getting other people to be on that Instagram hype.
Precisely. Yeah.
Love that. Has anyone got any more questions? Or I might ask my final question, and then we can move on with our Friday evenings. So my final question is, if you could change anything about your time of being a SAB, would you do anything differently?
If I could change anything, would I do anything differently? I don't think I would. No, I don't think I would. To be fair, I think I had a lovely year that was full of adventures and full of wins. Thank God. I think I was quite yeah. I had a fulfilling sort of year. We were able to do a lot. One of which one example would be the what did I mention? It was the living costs. Yes, the living paying people living costs. That was a big win. When the pandemic started, we had 45,000 worth of technology that we gave away, which was unprecedented. Like there was no roadmap on how to do that. After that, we had 150,000 worth of money to give out to students that lost their job through a work for us scheme that we established. So yeah, no, I wouldn't change anything. I think I'll keep it as is. I like how
So
I think of it.
Going to flip that question to you, because we have had one final question in from a student. So what are your best memories or moments of being a SAB?
What are my best memories or moments? Okay. There's a few. I think one of my best one and my most, so one that I was most proud of was during the graduation, where I spoke to the graduates, 2,700 people, and that those 5 minutes of me standing up and going and presenting and coming sit back down was a roller coaster of emotions. I had my booklet. I thought I dropped the paper, so I stopped midway walking and went back, and I couldn't find it on the floor. So I went back to the podium and thinking, I don't have my paper. I'm just gonna have to wing it completely in front of all these people and ruin their day. And then I opened it, and it actually was still there. And then I presented it. My legs were shaking, and I was worried that people can see my legs shaking. But from the outside in, you couldn't see any of that, and all you saw was me presenting it well, which is one of the most sort of most proudest moments. Yeah, that's a very good memory that I think back to. Yeah.
Things you'd never imagine yourself doing, and then there you are, and that sums up SAB life, I think, from what
Exactly. Absolutely. And the fact that I think being in our university, I think you can absolutely be yourself. So I started that chat with saying hi in a lot of languages, including my language. I was like, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, which I would never imagine being able to do that in a graduation in front of a lot of people. But the diversity helps, the accepting people, whoever they are. So whoever you are, that's what matters. Come and be you. Yeah.
I love that. Thank you so much for coming and answering our questions. It's been absolutely amazing. If you do want to apply, we'd absolutely love to have you. Please do check out our website, udosg.com/elections, to find out how to do that. Or if you've got any questions, either for me or for Ibrahim, to pass on any questions, which I'm sure he'll be happy for me to send them on to him, then please do email stu-elections@westminster.ac.uk, where we'll be answering questions. These are also going to be all available on YouTube shortly, so you can watch back. So yeah, thank you, Ibrahim, and let's catch up soon.
Absolutely. Sounds good. Take care of yourself.
Good evening, everybody. Thank you for coming.
Bye-bye.